Welcome to the Conscious Matchmaker. I'm your host, Sophie Singer, founder of Sophie Love, alongside Elizabeth Foster, lead executive matchmaker and conscious date coach. We'll explore conscious dating, which extends beyond the realm of romantic relationships. We'll help you break down the subconscious barriers that have held you back from experiencing the love and connection you truly deserve. Let's dive in.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We're so excited to be on the Conscious Matchmaker podcast again. I know it has been a little bit of a break for us. Just to reintroduce myself, I'm Elizabeth Foster. I'm the director of matchmaking at Sophie Love. And here today I have our special guest, Paige Barlow, who is one of our incredible matchmakers and relational coaches. We're so excited for what we're chatting about today. Just wanted to mention too, we took a little break, and Sophie's going to be joining us again in the upcoming episodes. But we wanted to get back to it and share more of what we love about this work and tips and our wisdom for creating wonderful connections with people. So today we're going to be chatting about the secret to connecting on a first date and what that looks like, how to create connection with a person you've never met before or only chatted with in the online space. And so, yeah, I'll let Paige kind of take it away and we'll get started.
Hi, y'all. I wanted to speak to a book by Olivia Fox Cabane, The Charisma Myth, because I think it's important to note that there's this idea that you either have it or you don't, or that if you're really outgoing, then you have it, and you can't be an introvert and have it. And that's just not true. It is about the practical applications, and it takes work to learn. In her book, she talks about Steve Jobs and how he certainly did not start off as a great speaker on stage. And Marilyn Monroe as well, and how she could turn from Norma Jean into Marilyn Monroe. She's on a subway and she's Norma Jean and nobody pays attention to her. She tells her photographer, "Watch, I'm going to turn into Marilyn Monroe." And she steps off the subway and onto the street and does a little flip up of the hair and a zhuzhing of the skirt. And all of a sudden, on these crowded New York, busy, crazy streets, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's Marilyn Monroe," when nobody a moment ago had even noticed her. Anywho, I wanted to share a story from her book, another story from her book, where she talks about the summer in London of 1886 and an election year where William Gladstone was up against Benjamin, forgive me, I'm totally going to mispronounce this last name, Disraeli, for the post of prime minister in the UK. And it was this was in the Victorian era. So whoever won was going to rule half the world. And in the very last week before the election, both men happened to take the same young woman out to dinner. And naturally, the press asked her what her impressions of their rivals were. And she said, "After dinner with Mr. Gladstone, I thought he was the cleverest person in England. But after dining with Mr. Disraeli, I thought I was the cleverest person in England. Guess who won the election? It was the man who made others feel intelligent, impressive, and fascinating. Benjamin, last name, consciously or not, charismatic individuals choose specific behaviors that make other people feel a certain way. These behaviors can be learned and perfected by anyone. In fact, in controlled laboratory experiments, researchers were able to raise and lower people's levels of charisma as if they were turning a dial. Contrary to commonly held charisma myths, here's the case in point. You don't have to be naturally outgoing. You don't have to be physically attractive. And you don't have to change your personality. No matter where you're starting from, you can significantly increase your personal charisma and reap the rewards both in business and in daily life. The most common charisma myth is that you have to be naturally boisterous or outgoing to be charismatic. Now, what she's speaking to here is will lead into the three behaviors that she breaks down, which is presence, power, and warmth. And that William Gladstone projected power during the 1886 elections. Someone of a high status individual, strong political weight, and powerful connection, somebody who has all of those things, who's known for keen intelligence and deep knowledge, impressed his young dinner companion with his power, but lacked the warmth to make her feel special. Whereas Disraeli was also projecting power. He too had a history of political power, impressive wit, and keen intelligence, but his genius was his ability to make whomever he was speaking with feel intelligent and fascinated. He projected presence and warmth in addition to power, so not just power, and was handsomely rewarded for it. And it's effective to have all three. It's a recipe. In that, I wanted to speak to first dates and the weight of even that word. And I like to redirect or reframe that a first date is truly simply meeting somebody new for the first time to see if there's potential. Potential for what? We have no idea. Right, Liz? We have no idea.
Any sort of connection that comes out of that first meeting.
Yeah, the person that you are meeting for the first time, you could really, truly, genuinely enjoy their company, and you could have a lot of commonalities, and you just don't have a romantic connection with them. But in turn, they surround themselves with like-minded people, and so they might be the person that introduces you to your person.
I was just going to say, I had that very thing happen with one of my best friends, and I got to officiate the wedding for them. That was her, she met his roommate, became fast friends with him, and then, of course, in turn met her, future husband because they live together. And so you just don't know what a first date can bring for you, or a first meeting, if we want to take off the date label to it.
Yeah, for sure. It is, again, it's being present for whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
And there's also the, Rael Castano, whom I respect and follow, talks about being present not just within yourself, but the real presence is when you are present to your surroundings and you are aware of what's going on around you, and then focused on the person in front of you. And there are some grounding techniques to get there too, just doing a body scan, like, where are my feet? How's my body feeling? Yeah, because we bring everything also into meeting somebody for the first time to see if there's potential. And so does the person sitting across from you. What happened in their day and their week comes to the date with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryle, I love he has a connect to self practice that I send to a lot of our clients too, just as like, listen to this for 5 minutes before you actually meet this person, especially if, for instance, we have a lot of clients who are busy, successful people. They go to dates right after work, right? And so if you go in that space, you're going in the mindset of, okay, well, I've got these things to do. I'm still kind of in work mode. And if you give yourself, 5-10 minutes sitting in the car, or, sitting outside wherever you're meeting, just to take a deep breath, connect into yourself, connect into your body and your surroundings, the ability to really ground in and be present will naturally come about. And so it's just kind of like taking a beat to be present, to be attentive to what's happening, and allow all of the other things, all of the to-dos to, take a little step back for the next hour or whatever as you meet that person.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to tell another story. I have a coaching client whom I've been working with for a while, and he gets feedback from friends and family and coworkers about how he just seems different. And it's because he's stopped being a doer in all situations, and started really connecting with people and being where he is, being present. And people have experienced him in such a more vibrant way. And I mean, everybody has noticed it over the holidays that we just passed. He did not bring his work laptop, and he was really, and people are like, you didn't bring your work laptop? What? And he got to actually experience being with his family over the holidays. And he's always hosting parties. And he, so he's always hosting the whole time, filling drinks and making sure everybody has what they need, and just zipping around and never actually being there. And because he started being so present, he's really gotten to know people and has made a lot more connections, which has rippled out into other parts of his life. And it's the same thing with our matchmaking clients. One of my clients went on 3 dates, and by date 3 had met somebody that she's still dating to this day, which it's been, I think, 10 weeks. And the thing is that she also really invested in herself and where she was at in her life, as opposed to bringing somebody in to fill. Like, she started full. She was present in her own being and who she was, so that she could be present in meeting somebody that matched that for her, as opposed to filling.
Yeah. When we're being present with ourselves and noticing what's going on with us, it allows us the space to notice what's happening for another person and actually be curious about what is going on for another person. Because, you know, you tune into your body, you tune into the stories that are coming into your own mind, and you can be aware how they have affected you. And again, like we've talked about, this takes practice, right? It doesn't all come together on the very first time you try this, but it takes practice and committing to practice each time you meet a new person, whether it's for a romantic potential partner or you know, or a new coworker, or anytime you meet somebody new, as you allow yourself more presence of mind and body, you naturally become curious about the other person, because the things that have, you know, maybe were buzzing about for you start to settle down, and they start to be a little bit more grounded. And you know, just like your client who's hosting parties, like, you know, you can be present with the other person, and that's when that curiosity starts to stem up of, oh, well, you were just talking about this story, tell me a little bit more, and you know, what happens next with this, right? And you notice more about the other person, and that's where, you know, the other person feels seen, they feel heard, they feel warm in your presence, and they feel like you're really there with them. And that's the foundation for really connecting with somebody and connecting with a human being, you know.
You know, that's interesting. I asked him, the people that he connected with, I asked him, like, why he was so drawn to them, and like why he enjoyed their company so much. And over and over again with these new people that were in his life, what he said was, I felt like I was the only one in the room when I was speaking to them. And that goes to like the practical things, right? Like doing the body scan to get present, and also the, you know, lowering the intonation of your voice at the end of your sentence. It's calming, and reducing how quickly and often you nod. You think that it makes somebody think that you're listening, but all you're doing is nodding. You don't have to nod to listen. And then also pausing for full 2 seconds before you speak, because if you're pausing, you're paying attention, and you're not just getting what you've already decided you're going to speak about or ask. You're taking a moment to, wait, what did that person say? That's Rael Castano's stuff too, right? Like, this is what I heard you say.
Yeah. I think that's so helpful, especially to get out of that kind of that mindset of like interviewing another person, which can feel like curiosity, but it's really checking off the boxes, you know, and giving yourself the space to, like you said, take a little 2-second break before you say something again, so you can take in what that person actually said to you and really hear what they said and feel how it feels to hear that in your own body as well. And then you can think about what you're going to say or say what you're going to say, but I think that's where, people maybe get a little bit confused with curiosity. It's like, oh, well, I want to know, what school did you go to? What job do you do? Like, how many kids and siblings or whatever do you have? Which those are all valid points to be curious about. But when you give yourself that moment to breathe, you can still find out the answers to those questions, but you'll actually be curious to hear more about, well, what was it like to go to school in this place? Or what's it like to have kids that age? Or, have this many siblings? And you'll get a lot more rich information from someone rather than just kind of, okay, this, and this is what I'm looking for. How do you fit into this box? Right? Like, again, that's not connection.
Yeah, on that point, I love the question why. Obviously not why do you have three siblings. However, if somebody says, I love gardening, and that can just be the end of that conversation. However, if a why, like with curious intention, because intention is so much, the foundation for all of this is intention. And so if the question after the reveal of gardening comes up of why, and then you pause, because people naturally want to fill the space with words, and the longer that you let them take that time, the more gets revealed. And they could say, well, I used to garden with my grandmother and she was one of the most important people in my life, and ... And I do want to speak to this word chemistry also. I feel like chemistry and date have the same kind of weight and expectation. Those two words come with expectation. And I feel like the word chemistry it's like you slap it on the experience and you measure everything by it. That's the kind of word that it is. And there's so much weight behind it. And I like to reframe to energy. It's an energy that you share with somebody. And the energy that you share with somebody cannot be shared by anybody else. And that's good, bad, in between, okay, great, whatever the words are. And that you can only experience when you get in front of somebody. You can't get it from a picture on a profile. You can't get it from words. Those boxes all might be ticked by somebody's online profile. Yes, so excited for this date. And you get together and it is like oil and water. There's no genuine curiosity from both sides. There's just interview or talking at you, or and it is chemical. It certainly is scientific, and you can't measure it and call it chemistry blanketly. Well, you absolutely can. I just feel like in our society and movies and rom-coms and romance novels and all of that stuff, this word gets thrown out there as if it is the one measurable thing, because you can have it right at the beginning and it can fire up and then fizzle out.
Yeah.
Or it can grow, but it's always going to change. The energy that you share with somebody is always going to be evolving if you're in the state of openness to it.
Yeah. Well, and I think you've got a good point there too about like how it can evolve and how chemistry, well, I don't even think of it as like chemistry showing up on a first date, right? I think of it, and I tell, our clients this, especially after, I get that feedback that's like, oh, well, we had a great time. Conversation went really well, but I'm not sure if there's chemistry. My response is, yeah, you just met a stranger for the
Right.
very first time.
Yeah.
And also, did you have a good conversation with them? Are you curious to hear anything else about them? Even one thing? Are you curious to learn any more about them? If the answer to that is yes, then 100% it's valid for a second meeting, a second date, and to learn a little bit more and see if that chemistry is what you're looking for. Is there a good back and forth? Is there still more to learn? Do you enjoy being present with them? Do you enjoy how they make you feel? Do you enjoy how you feel about yourself? in their presence. And so I totally like when chemistry is there, and chemistry, I mean, in the big way, right? Like it can mean something or it can mean nothing.
Yeah.
And same when it's not there. And so that's why I try so hard, and I know you do as well, like to help our clients see that like the real value of and the real connection and the foundation for long-term compatibility doesn't lie solely in the chemical reaction that happens in either one of your bodies when you're present together. It's so, so much more.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you brought that up, Paige.
And what you were saying, like, how do you feel in your presence? How do you feel in their presence? Like, how does your body feel? And kind of doing that scan again. Do you feel warm? Do you feel listened to? Do you feel like the other person is curious about you? And are you curious about them? Are you staying curious? Being present in your own body, because our minds tell the stories, but our body tells the truth. So getting in touch with like what is happening, where you are, and how you feel. It takes practice to discern what's happening up here and what's happening in our bodies, for sure.
This has been such a delightful conversation, Paige. I've really enjoyed just kind of breaking this down with you. And yeah, I hope that our listeners, I hope you all take something away from this as well. And, our thesis statement here, if you will, is chemistry. It's just energy, charisma. Anybody can create charisma. Anybody can have charisma. But connection, that's something that is nurtured with intentionality and presence through all of the ways that we talked about. So, Paige, is there anything else you want to say about that before we close out?
I do. I want to say, for any history buff or historian who's going to be like, think the pronunciation of Benjamin's last name is just blasphemy, I deeply apologize. And secondly, I'll just leave you with this. Be where your feet are, because it's the only place that exists is that moment in time. So be there. And thank you so much for hanging out with me, Elizabeth, and all y'all as well. Bye.
For joining our episode. Chips are to hit that so you never miss